What is up, everybody? Your boy, SEC Football Tube here, back with another live stream for you guys today. And this one, we're super hype. We are absolutely stoked for this one as me and Gavin give our 2025 South Carolina Gamecocks season predictions. It's one we've been looking forward to all off season long, all preseason long. I'm really, guys, think about this for a second. For the next 5 months, every Saturday for 5 months, we got college football. I am super excited. It's the best time of the year. Best time of the year. Gavin, welcome to the show, man. I'm looking forward to this one, man. Are you ready for it?
I'm more ready than you can think I am. I've been ready. I've been waiting all off season. I have had enough of the preseason talk. They're just, people stating their opinions. People will come after you for what you say. I'm done with just talking. I'm ready to see some football, and it's almost here, man. It's almost
Yes,
here.
sir. Absolutely, man. And today we're gonna give our season predictions, man. Now, we've had a long time to really think about this one. We've had a long time to really gather our ideas, do some research about the team, and there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about South Carolina football this year, but there also is some reason for concern as well with losing a lot defensively. But the good news is you still have some talent there, and you return with Norris Sellers as well. We're all still waiting to see about Rasul Fajan and everything. But regardless, I mean, South Carolina's got the potential to be a good football team this year, man. You come off of a 9-4 season. I think you really just showed everybody what you could do. But, you know, it's a new season. And I still think we got the optimism. I still think we got the reason to be excited. I still think this can very well be a special season for South Carolina. And, we got a lot of people kind of down on South Carolina. There's a lot of hype, but there's also people that are also down and think this football team is going to fall on their face this year. And, some of it I feel like is based on the defense. Everyone's concerned about the defense, right? About who we lost and everything. Some people is also concerned about the offensive line. And some people just feel like South Carolina football historically has a reason. Well, not a reason, excuse me. Part of it is also Gamecock PTSD, if you know what I mean. Because historically,
Yep.
coming into a season hype, South Carolina has been known to fall on their face. And this year, you're in the AP poll for the first time in a preseason since 2014. And we all know how 2014 went. So there's some concern within South Carolina fans here, but there's also a lot of optimism. And I'm really excited for the football season, man.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. But like you said, not only are we in the AP poll, we're ranked in the top 15. We start the
Yeah.
season ranked number 13. Now, as of right now, you are the team to upset. If you're South
Mm-hmm.
Carolina, now you're the team that teams want to upset. Look at the schedule. Vanderbilt wants to get you. Missouri's gonna want revenge. Clemson's gonna want revenge. But hey,
A&M
who
too.
knows how the season will go? Because ranks are just gonna go here and there. This is just the preseason.
Right.
We'll see how week one goes. We'll get to that in just a moment. But it's gonna be diff because now people are gonna start looking at you differently. They're not gonna just think you're going to be a bad team because people are aware about Lenora Sellers. They're aware about how good South Carolina was last year and how good they could be this year despite what they lost on defense. And I still think the defense can be really special this year despite losing top players like Kyle Kennard, Nicky Manwari, Tonka Hemingway. We had a great D line. We should be having a good D line this year too. We were turning Dylan Stewart. We got Gabriel Brownlow Dindy. He is a transfer from Texas A&M. We got J.R. Johnson, a linebacker. We got another linebacker. I think it was a transfer from Alabama, Justin Okoronkwo. We got these new faces, and
Yeah.
they got
And,
a chance to shine while the Gamecocks start the season ranked.
Brian Thomas Jr. is one I think is going to break out pretty well. You got Fred Johnson, which is another one, including me. Everyone's excited for him. And of course, when we look at tight end as well, I mean, you lost Joshua Simon, and that was a big loss. But you also returned Michael Smith, who showed a lot of flashes and potential last year. Man, just thinking about Mike Shula and how he's going to do this offense, I really think the tight ends are going to be targeted a lot. And how about Jordan Dingle as well coming in? And there's a lot of good things about him coming in that really excite me. I I feel like the tight end room is a good place, and of course the receivers. We have a lot of talented receivers. Is it proven? Not necessarily, but there are definitely talent. There's definitely talent on that roster. When we look at Maceo Bennett, who I think is going to break out, everyone wants to know: is this going to be the year that Nick Harbor finally takes the big step forward? Because everyone talks about he can't catch, he's running the wrong routes, he doesn't know the playbook. I mean, we hear the criticisms. Is this the year he finally proves everyone wrong? Because you have to think he's got to have a good season this year, man. He's got to, because with all the talent that Nick Harbor has, with his speed and everything, and he's made some great plays, but with the potential and just the pure athleticism he has, if he doesn't work out, people are going to be looking at this offensive staff and saying, dude, what the hell is going on? Like, there's a reason the guy is rated as highly as he is. And I just feel like if he has another bad season, it's going to be on the coaching staff. I really do. He's got to be developed. He has to be. And of course, you heard about Jaden Sellers as well. That's been getting a lot of love in the wide receiver room as well. But yeah, there are reasons for excitement for South Carolina football. But here's the thing about predictions, Gavin. You and I are realists. We're realists.
Yes.
We tell you what we think is going to happen, not what we want to happen. That's the point of these predictions. What me and him want is for South Carolina to win a national championship and beat the shit out of everyone. That's what we want.
Yeah.
However, we got to pick with our minds and not our hearts. And I've seen Carolina fans run around saying, "Oh, 9-3 would be an absolute disappointment. 7-5 is impossible, can't happen. 10-2, SEC championship, going to the playoffs, nothing less. If you think nothing less, you're delusional or overly pessimistic." And I just think that's kind of insane to me. I'm going to be honest, that's kind of absurd. If you know the history of South Carolina football, I can count on two hands the amount of 9-win seasons South Carolina's had. It seems very absurd to me to say 9 wins would ever be a disappointment for South Carolina. You're not there. You're not at that point in your program yet. I'm sorry. Once you start stacking more seasons like last year, maybe you can start to say, okay, I feel like we got to start striving for more. But right now, you're not in the position to say, oh, 9 wins will be a disappointment. No. We're judging off of one season. If Carolina comes out and has another good season, then yeah, the expectations will be raised higher. But this year, you lost some things defensively. There is some concern.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of concern with what we lost defensively, but like I mentioned earlier, we do have a lot. We still have some players returning, and what I think. Listen, last year we won because of the defense. The
Right.
reason is the reason we had a good season. The reason we almost made the college football playoff was because of our defense. They're the reason we didn't lose to Old Dominion week 1 like we should have.
Yep.
But now for this season, I feel like I don't think the defense is going to take a like big step back. It's just not going to be as good. But I think this season the offense is going to be a lot better in my opinion. And about the receivers, there's not a lot of people talking about our receivers. Like I've watched predictions here and there, and no one is talking about our receivers. No one's talking about Nick Harbor, Mazio Bennett. I mean, they'll talk. They know the receivers. They just aren't completely sold on them because they're more focused on Lenore Sellers.
Well,
But we'll see because we'll see for this season. But they're just not getting as much recognition. But I do like that because now this is the season that they can prove themselves for that.
right. And, again, the question about the wide receiver is, look, there's no question that South Carolina has talent in the wide receiver position. The question is, can they stay healthy? It is unproven talent. We saw flashes of greatness from some of them last year, but it is unproven talent. But there is so much potential in this offense. And I made a video yesterday saying the offensive line has got to improve. Got to protect one of the worst sellers. You got to allow for a good running game. And if you can do that, you can help the offense match their potential. But, anyways, we've rambled enough about how we think the team is looking coming into this year. Now it's time to give our predictions for South Carolina. We will not bore you guys any longer with that, but
Hey, what's taking so long, man? Let's get to the predictions, man.
right.
What's
I'm
up?
sorry. All right, bro. All right. So this is the Gamecocks schedule right here. We open the season. Get the format. There we go. We open the season against Virginia Tech, the Hokies in Atlanta, and Virginia Tech is a team that's got a lot of question marks. Honestly, they do. They lost a lot to the transfer portal. They're bringing in 2 new coordinators. Brent Pry is on the hot seat. They do return Kyron Drones. They returned some talent, but they also lost a lot of talent. And the talent that they brought in for the transfer portal, there's question marks about will that be better than the talent they lost, or will it match the talent they lost? Sorry for the stutters, guys. I'm trying to think about what I say, and sometimes I just ramble and stutter. But
All good.
that's the question for Virginia Tech, right? What are they going to be this year? Because it feels like they're kind of a mystery. If I'm being honest, I don't think they're going to be very good this year, but they're a mystery, man. It really feels like they have a lot of unknowns, a lot of things new. But to be fair, that can be both a good and a scary thing for us. And, South Carolina has a tendency, for whatever reason, under Shane Beamer, they are known to start the season slow. South Carolina needs to come out here and have a really strong start in Atlanta. They need to. They need to have a strong start in Atlanta. They need to make a statement here. And again, the first 5 stretch we have here, you need to make a statement to build confidence going into a murderer's row in October. With that being said, I think the question is, again, how does South Carolina come out here? Do they come out looking strong, or do they come out looking inept offensively? That's my biggest concern. If I'm being honest, I'm a little concerned about this game and how Carolina is going to come out in the season opener. However, I do think South Carolina wins the game, but I'm just going to tell you I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I could see Virginia Tech giving Carolina some hell. I really could.
I agree. Yeah. No. So, look, this is a game. Looking at this as a Gamecock fan, looking at this game, it's a game that we should win. We should win this game. But
Right.
if you have Gamecock PTSD like us, you're also really worried. You look at what happened at the end of last season. They should have beat Illinois. They lost that game. How I view this game, us Gamecock fans, let's go back to 2019. We played North Carolina to open the season. North Carolina, they had a new quarterback in Sam Howell. They had a new coach in Mac Brown. Well, new to North Carolina. He had a big history with college football. He's won national championships. But new to the staff, new players. And the season before, North Carolina was terrible. And we're seeing that with Virginia Tech. They got new staff, new players, but they got Kyron Drones returning, and I think he's a good quarterback. This
Right.
game for South Carolina is crucial. Or like some people think that this is going to be a blowout. I don't think so. Historically, we do not
Yeah.
open seasons good at all. We should have lost to Old Dominion last season. We won that game because of our defense.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to that North Carolina 2019 game, we lost that game. That's what this game's reminding me of. It's a neutral site too, and it's against a team that you should beat. So,
Well,
look, South Carolina, my prediction for this game, I do have South Carolina winning this game, but I think it's not going to be perfect at all. I think like we'll have flashes of good play. I think the offense is going to be the reason we win this game. I think well, it could be a slow start. It could be a slow start, but if you want to win this game, you need to start strong. Against Old Dominion, your defense started strong, and they won you that game last season. Maybe I might be wrong. Maybe the defense is the reason we win this game. But I think the offense is going to be a lot better this season because under our new coordinator, Mike Shula, I think he's going to make Lenore Sellers a better passer. And we're going to need that because that will also give the receivers a bigger name throughout the season. And I think that could be Mazio Bennett. We could see Nick Harbor, like you mentioned earlier. So I think the offense steps up in this game. We could start strong. We could, come in late. I think the Gamecocks do end up walking out of Atlanta with a win, but it won't be perfect.
Right, and to just elaborate on this game more here, again, when you look at Virginia Tech, they lost a lot. They've experienced significant turnover. They're in a very rough situation, man. And South Carolina's got so much more talent than Virginia Tech, and I don't say this as an insult. I have a lot of respect for Virginia Tech, I really do. But I look at this team. There's really no reason South Carolina should lose this game. There really isn't. I mean, again, do I think this is going to be like a 50-10 blowout or anything like that? No. However, I think South Carolina should beat this team by double digits. Personally, I really do. I feel like if South Carolina comes out here and loses to Virginia Tech, it's going to be because of them, shitting the bed. That's how I feel like it's going to be. It's just going to be because of them crapping the bed. That's the only way I see them losing to Virginia Tech. And again, I'm not trying to underlook anybody, but or overlook anybody or however you say it. But I do think South Carolina is more talented than Virginia Tech right now. But again, South Carolina historically has not started the season strong. That needs to end this year. So then we move on to South Carolina State. Loss.
That's a
Loss.
loss. Do we
Listen,
even need to
South
speak
Carolina
on?
State.
Do we even need to speak on this? We're losing that game, dude. That South Carolina State. This is their state. I hate to say it.
Right.
This is South Carolina State's state. They have the name state in their team. State. This is South Carolina State's state. We're losing this game.
Right. All right. In all seriousness, again, got a lot of love for those guys down in Orangeburg, but South Carolina will win this game.
Yeah, this shouldn't really have much talking to it. South Carolina should win this game against South Carolina State after Virginia Tech, hopefully after a win. But win or lose after that Virginia Tech game, South Carolina should handle business against South Carolina State and the Gamecocks home opener.
Right. And you and I will be going to this game, and I'm looking forward to that. It's
Yes,
going to be a lot of fun. It's a night game as well. But
it's always fun to be at Williams-Brice under the lights. And another fun fact for those of you who don't know, South Carolina, as of today, has sold out their season tickets. So
yep.
Williams-Brice Stadium is going to be rocking this year.
Oh
Win or
yeah.
lose, Gamecocks and Williams-Brice Stadium under the lights, rain or shine, it's going to be rocking at Williams-Brice this season.
Right. And next up, we got Vanderbilt. Our good buddy Diego Pavia has this game circled. You get them at home at night. I think it's a 7:45 kick. I don't view Vandy as a cupcake anymore like I used to, but still, I don't think Vanderbilt's going to be a very good team this year. And honestly, outside of Diego Pavia and that tight end, Eli Stowers, I just don't see a lot of players that could really give Carolina hell. Honestly, or what I mean is I don't see a reason South Carolina should lose this game. I don't think so at all. I think outside of those guys, I just don't know who Vandy has that can really be that guy. And because of that, I will say, again, South Carolina's got a good track record at night in the SEC under Shane Beamer. And while I do not think Vandy is the cupcake that they used to be, problem is they haven't beaten South Carolina in 16 years. That streak will come to an end sometime, but I don't think it's going to come to an end this year.
Yeah,
Again,
I
not a
agree.
cupcake, but I do think South Carolina gets the win here in a
Yeah,
close game in the fourth quarter. I think Vandy puts up a fight, but at the end, South Carolina is just a better team, and I think they get Vanderbilt here.
yep. I agree. So look, Vanderbilt, they have not beat South Carolina since the Big Bang. And at some point, Vanderbilt will get a win over us, but I don't see it being this year. It's under the lights at Williams-Brice. And like you said, we got a great record at home under the lights. I know Diego Pavia has this game scheduled. He's got a lot of talk And I think that Alabama win that Vanderbilt had last season just gave him maybe a little too much confidence because now he's saying that they're going for it all, national championship. But to be honest, like how can you like just not have that mindset? Look, South Carolina State's going for it all. Who else? Kentucky's going for it all. Kentucky, like Zach Calzada, their quarterback, he's also saying we're going for the national championship. You need to have that mindset that you want to take your team all the way.
Yeah.
So can you blame him? No. But
No,
is
I
Vanderbilt
mean that's what
gonna
you want in a quarterback. That's what you want in your quarterback.
Yeah, exactly what you want in your quarterback. And as for South Carolina, Lenore Sellers said he never wants to lose to Clemson and he wants to take them all the way. Lenore Sellers has said that. And that's what quarterbacks should say, and that's good. You cannot blame Diego Pavia for saying that. But we're going to slap him in the face at Williams-Brice. I do see this game being close, but I do think we pull away in the fourth quarter because Vanderbilt, I think they're pretty solid. They're look. I think
Yeah, and
I think they'll be like on the same level as Kentucky, Mississippi State. I don't think they're the worst team in the conference anymore. They're not a cupcake.
well,
I think they'll be pretty good this year, but it's not going to be enough to beat South Carolina under the lights at Williams-Brice.
yeah, I don't think they win in Columbia, but I will say this: Vanderbilt's offensive line has a chance to be much improved as well, and if they can protect Diego Pavia and allow him to find some targets, Vandy could be a problem yet again this year. And they did add some transfers, wide receiver Trent Hudson from Mississippi State, and even Chance Fitzgerald from Virginia Tech. I mean, again, Vanderbilt's got a lot of experience returning players as well, and I really do think they could be good defensively. Again, the problem is at night in Columbia, South Carolina, and I still think South Carolina has more talented players here. Vandy will Vandy's not a cupcake that they used to be, but I don't think they go into Williams-Brice and win the game. I will
Yep.
say that. So now we move on to the game that terrifies both of our souls. On the road at Missouri. I have been going back and forth on this one all off season long. And the truth is I got a lot of questions for Missouri's offense because they lost Brady Cook. They lost Theo Weiss, Luther
Luther
Burden,
Burden.
but
Yep.
they do return a pretty good or bring in a really good running back as well. So I really think that Missouri offensively is going to be worse than they were last year. I don't think that they're a playoff team. I don't think they're a 10-win team this year at either. They have a favorable schedule, though. I mean, Missouri has 6 straight home games.
Yeah.
6 straight home games. And, we
Six.
got questions like who's going to be Missouri's quarterback, right? Defensively, they're going to be good again. This is a game I really think will go either way. I really do. With that being said, I am going to give South Carolina the win here because I do think offensively South Carolina will be a little bit more set with the quarterback situation with Norris Sellers, what he can do, because there's a lot of unknowns and question marks with Mizzou's quarterback room. I think South Carolina wins this game, but let me tell you, my confidence in that is not very high. Missouri can very well get us. I mean, that is a tough game in Como, but at the same time, I think South Carolina right now with a more experienced quarterback room and more experience offensively, I think they get the win in Como. But again, I think that can go either way.
Yeah. That game could absolutely go either way. As for me, look, if South Carolina wants to win this game in Como, they're gonna need to hush Ahmad Hardy. They're
Yep.
gonna need to shut him down because he's fast and he can be a scary guy to play, and it's gonna be tough to do that in Missouri. It's never an easy place to play. It's a place that no one ever really talks about. Missouri wins at home quite often. Like,
Mhm.
and also, like you mentioned, 6 home games in a row. 6. That's
Yep.
just insane to me. How a team can have 6 home games in a row. Their schedule, just because that they're at home, it they might have like. Look, I don't think Missouri's gonna make the playoff or anything like that. but just because that they might get at least like 6 or 7 wins this season, like at least 7 or 8 maybe this season, we'll see, is because that they're at home. But also, they've got question at quarterback. They did lose some big pieces. I think they also lost. I forgot his name. They lost someone on defense, like Johnny Wilson or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember last season Lenore Sellers escaped a big sack against him, and
Mhm.
because it was a big dude, so that was a big piece that they lost. But yeah, my point is Missouri's lost a lot of pieces, but as for South Carolina, something's just telling me, and unfortunately, I'm going with it this way. Something's just telling me that this is that one game of the season that could be the reason that South Carolina doesn't make the playoff. And unfortunately, I think South Carolina is going to lose this game to Missouri. I
Ooh,
really hate to say that. I
I
really
could
hate to
see it.
say it. I could see it. Look, this game might be at night too. It's never easy to play in Missouri. For some reason, something's just telling me we are not going to be able to stop the run enough to keep Missouri off the scoreboard, and they'll get into field goal range enough. I know that historically, from what I've seen, they've had good kickers. They had got great special teams too, and I feel like in the end, Missouri wins this game by the run game and maybe even special teams, in my opinion. As for South Carolina, I think Lenore Sellers is going to be Lenore Sellers, but I just feel like this is going to be that one game this year where it's one that they're going to want back. Just Gamecock PTSD has me on this one, and unfortunately, I don't see us winning this game. Look, the games could go either way. We could beat Missouri, we could lose, or we could beat Ole Miss, we could beat A&M, we could lose, we could beat LSU. You just look. I'll give out my record will speak for itself at the end of the stream. But the games could go either way. But unfortunately, I see this game as a revenge game for Drinkwitz and Mizzou.
Yeah, and again, listen, like I said, I really, I'm still going back and forth on this one in my mind. It's just like you said, if Carolina can't stop the run, if we can't stop Hardy, it could be a long day in Como. However, I actually, again, I don't think this defense is going to take the massive step back that everybody thinks. I think this defense still has some ballers up front, but again, replacing the front seven is never really an easy task. And again, if South Carolina can't stop the run here, because I feel like Missouri is going to be leaning on the running game a lot this year. They have talent on offense, but they lost a lot too. And I just think again, because Lenore Sellers and South Carolina's offense seems more experienced, in my opinion, I'm going with Carolina to win this game. However, again, they could lose it too. So
Yeah.
then we come back home and take on the Kentucky Wildcats and Mark Stoops. Let me
May I
tell you
have
this about Mark Stoops in Kentucky. Their back's against the wall right now. Everybody thinks that they're going to be terrible. Everyone. They went 4-8 last year. That's a team you blew the doors off of going into Lexington last year. This season will be crucial for Mark Stoops. I mean, again, if Kentucky, I think, fails to make a bowl game this year, despite the buyout, I really think Mark Stoops will be gone. This is going to be a home game for South Carolina. Kentucky has been known to give South Carolina problems, but the good news is Beamer's had Mark Stoops' number. He has. We've won 3 straight against them. You're at home against this team. It sets up well, and to be honest with you, I just don't think Kentucky's going to be a good team this year. I don't. I don't. And Zach Calzada, could he come in and bring in the spark? I have serious doubts about that because, again, people thought that Brock Vandergriff was going to be special over one game and turned out not to be the case. Problem is, I don't think Kentucky's a cupcake. I mean, my God, guys, they took Georgia to the wire and they beat Ole Miss. They're not a cupcake by any means. However, right now, I just think Kentucky's in a very tough spot, and this game being at South Carolina is crucial. And South Carolina's just a better team than them right now. So, with that being said, I'm not sleeping on Kentucky, but I do think Carolina wins the game, and I do think they start the season 5-0. But again, like Gavin, that Missouri game, I'm giving Carolina the win against Missouri, but I'm telling you right now, 5-0, I think is going to be a little bit tough to accomplish more than some people think. But I do think South Carolina wins the game here. I think they beat Missouri. I think they beat Kentucky. I think they avoid a week one letdown against Virginia Tech. And I do think South Carolina starts 5-0. But again, I could see that Missouri game being a loss. Some people might think I'm crazy with what I'm talking about, but I mean, again, I feel like there are games here that South Carolina, if they don't come prepared, they could drop. However, I do think South Carolina will win all 5 of these games. I really do. But at the same time, they could slip up here. They absolutely could. What say you about the
Absolutely.
Kentucky game, Gavin?
For the Kentucky game, Kentucky, I think they're going to be worse than Vanderbilt this year. I
Ooh,
like. I don't think they're going to be good at all. I think Stoops is in for his last year at Kentucky. Unfortunately, I see this being a blackout night game for the Gamecocks. I think this game.
2017 memories, man.
I oh no, don't even say that. But this game, look, we're a better team than that. Well, 2017, it was a good team, but
Right.
in this case, I think we're going to beat Kentucky. I think the Gamecocks will beat Kentucky. I don't think they're going to be. I think this is going to be less challenge. This might be the second easiest game on the schedule,
Oh, he's
like
really confident.
past South Carolina State. I don't think Kentucky's that. Look, I might be wrong. I might be wrong. Kentucky might surprise some people. Zach Calzada, their quarterback, he's beaten Alabama. He's beaten Alabama at Texas A&M before. He's
True.
done that. But if Kentucky has players like Deion Walker again, Chris Rodriguez, Barryon Brown, who transferred to LSU, they could have a better chance at winning this game. I just don't see Kentucky as a team with a chance to beat South Carolina in South Carolina this year. Excuse me, if this was in Missouri, I think it'd be a lot closer. But just because we're at home, I think South Carolina wins this by more than one score. It could be a little close at first because it's an SEC game, but South Carolina should pull away and win this game. And as for me, I have them at 4-1 right now. And one more thing about that Missouri game, we're gonna need to force them to throw the ball because, like you said, they're gonna rely on the run game a ton. With what it looks like, we're gonna need to force them to throw the ball. And I
Right.
just don't see Missouri. No, I don't think any of their we haven't seen much of their receivers. Like we don't know much about that. Same exact thing with us right now. We're in the same position as Missouri with receivers. So who knows how their receivers will be? But my point is, Ahmad Hardy is their top guy, and we're gonna need to force them to throw the ball. And I think we could get interceptions out of that game. But my point is, for the Kentucky game, I have us advancing 4-1. I really don't think it should be much of a challenge, maybe at first, but South Carolina should pull away in this game and advance to 4-1, in my opinion.
Right. And again, I respect it. I mean, that Missouri, I could very well have a 4-1 record right here. Again, like I said, stop and run will be something that Carolina needs to do in that Missouri game. I do think they do it, and I think that experienced offense South Carolina has over Missouri offensively right now. Maybe I'm wrong about it, but again, Missouri lost quite a bit offensively. They're going to have to rely on the running game, in my opinion, unless they can find some weapons at wide receiver early. That could be challenging offensively for them in Como. And again, that game could go either way. All right, so I got 5-0. Gavin's got 4-1. Now we go on the road against LSU.
You're forgetting something. You're forgetting the bye week.
What?
You're forgetting the bye week, the toughest
Oh
game
yeah,
on the
loss.
schedule. The bye week. That's going to be a
Well,
loss.
I
But
just hope we can
yeah,
at least score a field goal on them this time.
at,
I,
at the
I
very
don't.
least. But realistically, the bye week, we're coming up of a bye week into this LSU game. But go on.
Yeah, the bye week again. We that the bye week is that's the toughest game on your schedule. I'm kidding. All right, so
No, you're
LSU
right.
on the road in Death Valley. I got a question about LSU this year because I really feel like this squad has the potential to be really good this year. They return an experienced quarterback in Garrett Nussmeyer. I think he really could have a strong impact this year. The problem is he's inconsistent at times. He could be a turnover machine at times. He's got to improve that this year. They got a strong transfer class. They got really talented wide receivers. That LSU offense, I think, is very talented. I got questions about their defense though. Now they're expected to be more improved under Blake Baker. We'll see what he does in the LSU defense. I think this game is going to be a night game in Death Valley. And LSU at night in Death Valley is one of the most toughest places to play in all college football. And while I think South Carolina will compete in this game, especially because this team's going to be having a chip on their shoulder after how this game ended last year, pretty much getting screwed against LSU, which, by the way, kept them out of the college football playoffs. South Carolina is going to go into Baton Rouge with a chip on their shoulder. But with that being said, I don't see South Carolina going into Death Valley and winning. I know some of you will disagree with me on that. It's just that is such a tough place to play in college football. If it's a day game, then maybe I'll change my mind on that a little bit, depending on where each guys are coming into the season. Because there's a chance that LSU could have a couple losses. I mean, they play Clemson week 1. Clemson week 1, which I think they lose that game, by the way, even though I hope I'm wrong. They play on the road at Ole Miss, and they also play Florida. LSU, if they're not ready, they could have a couple losses coming into this year. South Carolina, again, they could have the loss to Missouri, but they got a really good opportunity with their schedule to build some confidence going into October. But that being said, though, I just don't think South Carolina wins this game in Death Valley. I don't. Again, that might change during game week, but as of right now, I got to go with LSU to win this game. And I think this will be a great game. I think it'll be back and forth, but at the same time, I just don't see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Listen.
you couldn't have said that any better.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Listen. I make these predictions with what I think is going to happen and not what I want to happen. I hope Carolina goes in there and beats LSU. I just don't see it, guys. I just don't see it happening. I'm sorry. I don't.
Yeah, it would be a really tough game to drop. So for this LSU game, I think both teams will have at least one loss going into this game because LSU, they also have a tough schedule, just like us. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't see this game. This game, it could be a college game day game. It could. But the fact that both teams have one loss, like if both teams are undefeated going into this game, I think it's guaranteed college game day. Maybe not guaranteed, but it's be up there. But college game day is just college game day. Last year, LSU, South Carolina was a college game day. But as for this one, it could be either way. But speaking for the game, it's most likely a night game at Death Valley. No matter the record both these teams have, I don't think like if South Carolina starts the season 5-0, if LSU starts what like 3-2, 4-1, no matter the records, I don't see South Carolina winning this game. Unfortunately, like this is a really really tough game. This may be the hardest place to play in college football for some teams. I mean, look, Alabama blew out LSU at night last year, but that's Alabama. I don't know if we're or like on a level as Alabama right now, but
Well, we
it's
have the same record.
still the hardest place to play in college football, in my opinion. Death Valley. It's what they say. They say it's where teams' dreams come to die. And unfortunately, I don't think South Carolina wins this game. It's really tough. You know, Garrett Nussmeier, he's a good quarterback. People are saying he has a chance at the Heisman. People are saying he might be the best quarterback in the SEC. But he did have a turnover problem, and he was bailed out by the refs last year
Yeah,
with
and
that
that's why
pick
I don't
six.
entirely buy that, honestly. But
Yeah, like if he's better passing this year, I don't know if South Carolina has much of a. I don't want to say it'll be a blowout, but I have a feeling South Carolina could lose this game by more than one score, just because it's a night game in Death Valley. It could be the hardest place to play in college football, or Penn State at night. One of the two. It might be even. But look, I still think it's probably the hardest place to play in the SEC, especially for this year. No matter the records, I don't think South Carolina wins this game.
yeah, and look, hey, maybe we're wrong, man. Maybe LSU is way overhyped this year. I think they're going to be a strong team this year, personally. I'm really sold on them offensively. I think they're going to be better. I think Nuss will have some improvements. And again, I think South Carolina's defensive backs will be an amazing unit. I think they'll be the strongest part of the defense, in my opinion, this year. If South Carolina can force some turnovers there, they can have a shot. And again, I think this will be a close game. I could be wrong on this. But it's just with me, I just, again, I think it's going to be a tough task. I really do to win in Death Valley. And I'm not trying to hype LSU up as some kind of contender. But at the same time, you cannot deny that LSU is one of the toughest places to play in college football. That will be a tough one for sure. And here comes another tough one. Oklahoma at home. Now, you guys know Boomer Sooner. Oklahoma is my second favorite team. I love them to death. With that being said, I will say I don't think the John Mateer Venmo stuff is going to affect Oklahoma. I just don't think it's going to. John Mateer, he's got a lot of hype. He's got a lot of hype. Really live up to it. Jaden Knott, the running back at Oklahoma, I think is a really big get for OU. You got Deion Burks coming back. Oklahoma's offensive line, I think, will be improved. You can't think Oklahoma's offense could be worse. I mean, the thing is, last year, the defense pretty much spotted you 21 points in the first 5 minutes of the game. I mean, that was the worst I've ever seen Oklahoma's offense look. Absolutely atrocious. I think they're going to be much improved offensively. Brent Venables taking over defense again. I think it's going to be good. And here's the thing. I think Oklahoma beats Texas this year. I do. I'm not saying that just because I love Oklahoma. In my gut, I feel like Oklahoma beats Texas this year. They got to come to Williams-Brice Stadium after. This could be a trap game for both teams. It really could, because say South Carolina wins at Death Valley. Say me and you are wrong, and South Carolina wins in Death Valley, then they got to come home and play Oklahoma. That could be a trap there. Say Oklahoma wins in Dallas against Texas, then comes to Williams-Brice. I mean, both teams could slip up here. This one could go either way. With that being said, I'm going to give this to South Carolina because it's at home. But again, this is another one I think could go either way. And again, as a Sooner fan, too, as long as a Gamecock fan, the reason I think we beat Texas this year, not because I think Oklahoma's, better than Texas, but for whatever reason, when we're in the white uniforms, at least in this decade, the game has been an instant classic, and Oklahoma's come out on top. They just have. And again, I think Texas is a strong team this year that can definitely contend for a national title. But I think they slip up there in Dallas against Oklahoma. And I think Oklahoma comes to Williams-Brice, plays a good game, and won't be the beating it was last year. But I do think.
I think your mic cut out. I'm pretty sure the stream.
What happened?
Your mic cut out there. You're like
Yeah, my
you
Wi-Fi is
were
kind of
saying
crap right now.
Oklahoma would come to Williams-Brice, and then your mic cut out.
Oh yeah, well Oklahoma they have to come to Williams-Brice after playing Texas, and again, because I think that they're going to win that game against Texas, I do think they come to Williams-Brice and lose. I'm giving South Carolina the win because it's a home field advantage for them. However, again, I can see this going either way, and that would put us at 6-1 going into the Alabama game.
Yep. So for this Oklahoma game, I got mixed feelings. This is going to be a tough game. This is not going to be like last year. Last year was basically a gift. Oklahoma gifted you a win last year in Norman. This year, it's not going to be the same. They got John Mateer at quarterback, assuming he doesn't get suspended. But let me get this off my head real quick. If John Mateer is not the quarterback in this game, I think South Carolina wins this game I think it could be like the Vanderbilt game if Mateer isn't the quarterback. However, assuming Mateer is the quarterback for this game, I think this is the game on South Carolina's schedule where it's back and forth, or South Carolina has a good lead and then chokes it, but it's still in a close game. Like the LSU game last year, we went up 17-0. Then it was a close game. We ended up losing the game. We were up 17-0 against Texas A&M, close game. We won it. We were up 21-6 over Missouri, almost lost and still won. I think this is going to be one of those games this year for South Carolina where it's going to be really close and back and forth. It's going to be a close game in the fourth quarter. I just think this is going to be that one game that's really, really close. It could come down to the final drive, but because it's at home, I just still think South Carolina wins this game. It is a noon
Right.
game, but that doesn't matter because I was at the LSU game last year. That game was a noon game. And Williams Bryce, I was in the upper deck. It was hot, but the fans were swaying the upper decks. I could feel it when Sandstorm was going. I could feel the upper deck swaying. It was just like as if, the Gamecock fans are rowdy. And just because it's at noon does not mean we have a less chance of winning this game. Like we'll get to the Texas A&M game later, but just because that game is at noon does not mean that it's gonna be not gonna like your home team does not have an advantage. So I do think South Carolina comes on top in this one against Oklahoma, but it's gonna be one of those games that's gonna be really close.
All right, and now this brings us into the Alabama game. South Carolina takes on Alabama at home. I fully think Alabama is going to be a deep team this year, an extremely good team, and South Carolina is going to have a massive chip on their shoulder because that's another one South Carolina feels they should have won. They only lost by 2 points last year. Problem is, you looked inept offensively almost the entire game, and you blew that game away with turnovers. That's why you lost, because of the turnovers. You could have and honestly should have beat Alabama last year. Is Bama going to be better this year? I think so. I think so. The problem is Kalen DeBoer he's struggled on the road. They lost to Oklahoma by 3 touchdowns last year. Oh, that might have been a brand saving win for Oklahoma, if we're being honest. That really might have. I have a
Yeah,
gut
no,
feeling about this game. Last year, I had a gut feeling that South Carolina beats Texas A&M, and they beat Texas A&M. I have a gut feeling that South Carolina beats Alabama. However, picking against my gut has worked every single year. I'm afraid to go with my gut because I feel like the one time I go with my gut, they're going to lose. Well, that being said, while I have a gut feeling Carolina wins this game, I'm picking Carolina to lose simply because I don't want to chance it, bro. I don't want to chance possibly, being wrong about a gut feeling. And if I am being honest, that will be a tough game in Columbia. Alabama's coming in. I think they're very deep. But with that being said, I really think South Carolina could win that game. I really do. I got a gut feeling that
wow.
South Carolina wins that game. It could be a night game. It's on homecoming. However, again, I am terrified to pick my gut here because I'm worried the first time I do, we're gonna blow it. So I just again it's not a good reason to pick against your team, honestly, but I'm a little superstitious about it. So again, I
Yes.
gotta do it, man. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. This could change on game week, but I again, I'm just and your gut is not always right. And Bama does have more talent here, and this is a game that South Carolina is going to be hyped up. This could serve as a letdown spot here, but this could also serve as a great win. But I'm gonna go against my gut again because every time I go against my gut, it works. So a little bit of a mind trick here. What do you think, Gavin?
I think reasonably so. I think that's a good decision. But for those of you who don't know, SECFT has a history of these gut feelings,
Mm-hmm.
but yet picking against it, and it happens. He had a feeling for the Texas A&M game last year. I also had a gut feeling about the Texas A&M game last year, and we blew them out. It was a close game. Then we blew them out in the second half, and then we rushed the field. I feel like this could be one of those games this year. At the same time, I got mixed feelings because Alabama's good. I think they're going to be better this year. Alabama's Alabama. South Carolina beat Alabama in 2010. This year, I feel like it, it could be closer than the 2010 game. I I feel like this might be a lower scoring game, and it comes down to the team with the better defense and maybe even the turnover battle. But I think, look, I don't know if South Carolina wins this game, I don't necessarily think it'll be rushing. Like, look, who knows what Alabama's record will be going into this game? Who knows South Carolina's record will be going into this game too? If South Carolina is like a top 15 team, or you know, if this is a back and forth, I don't think this is going to be a rush the field type of game. Maybe it is. I might be wrong because LSU rushed the field when they beat Ole Miss, and that was like a ranked versus ranked game. But let me just get to the point. I do think South Carolina, as of right now, we'd be saying pulling off the upset against Alabama. I think they do get the win here. I do think they beat Alabama. It's on homecoming. I just think this is going to be that one game on South Carolina's schedule where it's just boom, that happened. Last year that was a Texas A&M game. This year I think that one will be the Alabama game, and I think we beat Alabama in a big game that will keep you alive for the college football playoff with 4 games to go on your schedule.
Right. And I mean, guys, again, my gut feeling tells me South Carolina wins this game. And again, this is it's a superstitious reason why I'm picking Carolina to lose to Alabama, but it's also good reason too because again, Alabama I think will be a much better team this year. Like I think they could very well be in contention for the playoffs and the national title. And at the same time, just because there's no guarantee this game is going to be at night either. I hate to say it, but there's no guarantee this game is going to be at night. If this is a night game going into the game, then I might change my mind on this. But again, I think this will be a massive game here. I think South Carolina, my gut tells me South Carolina wins. However, for whatever reason, when I pick against my gut, it happens. I don't want to risk it not coming true. So I'm gonna pick us to
Yeah.
lose that game, but my gut tells me otherwise. Then on the road at Ole Miss. On the road at Ole Miss. Originally, I had this as a loss, and I had Alabama as a win. Originally, I changed my predictions before the game. Ole Miss, I don't think is going to be as good as they were last year. I don't think they're going to completely fall off the map, but they lost quite a bit. They lost quite a bit, and for whatever reason, I got a strange confidence going into this game on the road. I think South Carolina gets Ole Miss on the Grove. I really do. Following a disappointing loss to Alabama, I do think South Carolina beats Ole Miss on the road. I changed my prediction after that because, again, I just had this feeling South Carolina at this point is going to start playing their best football again because it's November, and for whatever reason, they just tend to do that. And at this point, I think South Carolina might be a little bit better coming into this point than Ole Miss might be. However, it's on the road, so we could very easily lose that game, but I am going to give South Carolina the win here.
Yeah, yeah. So this Ole Miss game again. These games could go either way. We could beat Missouri, we could lose to Ole Miss. We could beat Ole Miss, we could lose to Alabama. The games could go either way. But my prediction for this game, I agree because look, Ole Miss, I don't think they're going to be as good as last year. They're losing Trey Harris, Jackson Dart. They're just losing these pieces that were crucial to them last year. And Jackson Dart, I think, is going to do really great in the NFL. I think, not to make things like, I'm not trying to switch leagues here, but I think at some point he'll be a starter in the NFL. Right now he's entering his rookie season, and that was a great quarterback for Ole Miss. He did really good against South Carolina last year, and I think South Carolina lost that game last year because there was too much on the Juice Wells narrative. But now that he's gone, I I just feel like this is going to be part of the season where South Carolina is playing their best football, like you mentioned. I think South Carolina wins this game in Ole Miss. I think they get revenge on Ole Miss, and now that would put them on a 3-game winning streak. So now I have the Gamecocks at 7-2 with another big win for their the race for the college football playoff. So this would be a big win for South Carolina. I think I don't know. This game it could go either way. I just something's telling me South Carolina's got this game, but it could go either way. We could lose this game and we could beat Texas A&M. We could win this game. We could even beat LSU, but we could lose to Missouri. You just never know. But I do have the Gamecocks at 7-2, and I do have them beating Ole Miss in a big road game because you weren't able to get LSU away. I think they get Ole Miss away. I've been saying it before this, but like I've been saying it for months. I think you either beat LSU, then lose to Ole Miss, or you beat Ole Miss and lose to LSU. I think you win one of those and lose one of them. I've been saying that all preseason, and I'm sticking with that. I have us beating Ole Miss and advancing to 7-2.
Right, and again, Ole Miss has to replace key players. However, again, my confidence in this pick is not very high. I'll be honest with you. I could easily switch this right now
Same
to
here.
7-3. I really could see Carolina losing this game because I still think Ole Miss is a strong team. However, again, for some reason, I just got a feeling Carolina is going to show up here in Oxford, and I do think uh, Ole Miss is going to be coming off of back-to-back stretches against Georgia and Alabama. Back-to-back road games against Georgia and Oklahoma, not Alabama. I'm sorry about that. That will be tough. Ole Miss could be banged up coming into this game a little bit. South Carolina could be too, by the way. Look, LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, both teams coming into very hard stretches here. But for whatever reason, I just got this confidence deep down South Carolina beats Ole Miss. And because I think Ole Miss had to kind of replace more than Carolina did as well, I'm going to get South Carolina the win here. I really am.
Yeah, I love to hear it.
And
I
this
love
is
to hear
where
it.
I think they shit the bed. On the
Oh,
road at Kyle Field. We have never won in Kyle Field before. And I have a bad feeling that South Carolina, Texas A&M after last year is going to have a massive chip in their shoulder coming into this game. This could be a kind of playoff on the line game for them too. And you got to go to their place this time. You've never won in Kyle Field. Never. I think Texas A&M might have one of, if not the best offensive lines in the country. Marshall Reed is coming back. I think their defense is going to be strong. Now, again, what will Texas A&M be? I think they're still going to find a way to keep themselves out of the playoffs. But with that being said, I feel like South Carolina's going to go on the road and lose this game. I really do. Again, I feel like both teams could be in very similar spots at this point in the season, but I got them crapping it here against Texas A&M. This is where I think they crap the bed. They have that crap the bed game or whatever. I think this is the one. And I hope to God I'm wrong about that. I think this game is going to be an absolute heartbreaker and it's going to keep Carolina out of the college football playoff. I'm sorry. Look, guys, again, like I told you, I'm not a sunshine pumper. I'm sorry, but I'm not. And I just feel like, again, this team, while they have a chance to make the college football playoff, while they absolutely could, do I believe in this team? Yes, I do. With that being said, again, I'm just not going to sit here and pretend like some of the things we lost last year on the defensive line won't kind of hurt us in the long run. And I just feel like because of how strong Texas A&M's offensive line is, they could really kill us offensively. Again, maybe I'm wrong and South Carolina's front seven is great yet again. I think they'll be good. I just don't think they're going to be to the level that they were last year. And I'm sorry, but until you guys win in College Station, I just cannot pick it. I'm sorry, and I just have a feeling that unfortunately Carolina wets the bed here. Now, I hope to God I'm wrong. I really do. But I think you beat Ole Miss, but I think you lose to Texas A&M. Again, I'm sorry, guys. I just that's just how I feel. I'm sorry.
yep. Look, I as well am very confident in this team to make the college football playoff. But I hate to say this, but I agree with you. I think this is going to be like the Alabama game last year, where it's a close game, but you just shit the bed. It's
Yep.
gosh, it's hard. It's hard to just think that South Carolina can beat Texas A&M, and I might be wrong. We could very well win this game. We could very well lose to Ole Miss. We could beat
Yeah.
Missouri. I've said it all stream long. These games could go either way, but I think this is the game South Carolina drops that may keep them out of the college football playoff. You got two more games after. You got Coastal and Clemson, but those aren't in conference, so that would make it for me. That'd be three conference losses. That means you're out of the conference championship race, and that might even eliminate you from the college football playoff. And unfortunately, I don't see the Gamecocks beating Texas A&M. They have a chip on their shoulder, and look, it's not at night, but I mentioned earlier about the LSU game. Wherever I was speaking on it, just because it's not a night game doesn't mean it's gonna just not be hard for the visiting team. It's no matter where you play, rain or shine, night game, day game. It's really hard to play at Kyle Field. It's one of the hardest places to play in the SEC. It could be the toughest place to play this year. Maybe it's LSU. Who knows how these teams will play this year? But it's a hard place to play. It's a harder place to play than Ole Miss for sure. No disrespect to Vaught Hemingway Stadium, but Kyle Field is different. They have like
Yeah.
I think the largest capacity with their stadium. It's electric in Texas A&M. Mike Elko is calling the plays this year. It's going to be different. A&M, they're returning Moss, their running back from last year, who was injured in the South Carolina game last year. So I'm sure he's going to want to run it all over us. I feel like there's so many threats in this game. There's Moss, the running back. Marcel Reed, I think, is a really good quarterback. I think he'll be better this year. And A&M's also like they're good on both sides. You got them last year. This year, I don't think you have them. I think South
Yeah.
Carolina falls to 7-3 going into the last two games of the season.
Listen, guys, we hope we're wrong on this. We really do. We hope we're
Absolutely.
wrong, but unfortunately, again, I just, I feel like for whatever, I just feel like Texas A&M here. I feel like they're going to be much improved offensively. I think they'll be deep on the offensive line. And wow, don't get me wrong, Dylan Stewart's going to be a mismatch for almost everyone. And he's going to give players like Brian Thomas Jr. and others the chance to make big plays for him. This defensive line can do a lot of good stuff, but I'm a little bit worried about that Texas A&M offense. I feel like, especially because it's a home field advantage for them, I just feel like they're going to take this one. However, I do have you beating Coastal Carolina, but I will say Coastal's not a cupcake. They're not a cupcake, but I do think you beat them. If this game was 5 years ago, I would be shaking looking at this game. Truth is, both programs are different than they were 5 years ago, and I think South Carolina beats Coastal Carolina, but I do think Coastal hangs around for a little bit, but then South Carolina pulls away in the second half. That's how I feel.
Yeah, this game it could be close at first. Like, in the Wofford game last year, they opened the drive with a field goal, and it was kind of close going into halftime. I'll admit, like, giving up 3 sacks to Wofford last year, we can't give up that many sacks again in a game like Coastal Carolina. Look, again, 5 years ago, I'd be scared. Jamie Chadwell, Grayson McCall, that was a really great Coastal Carolina team, and they rarely lost. They rarely lost, and I think one year they went undefeated in the regular season, and they lost the bowl game, I believe.
Yeah,
But this year, South Carolina should handle business. You're at home. It doesn't matter what time the game is. I believe it's afternoon, but South Carolina should win this game going into the Clemson game, and I'm sure if they want to end the season in fashion, they're going to want to gain some momentum before that Clemson game. And I think Coastal Carolina, it's not a cupcake. It's not a cupcake. I feel like, every single game on South Carolina's schedule is not a cupcake. The only one that I would say, I don't want to call South Carolina State a cupcake because they're a solid FCS team in Orangeburg, but
yeah,
that's probably the easiest game on your schedule with all
right.
due respect. But
Yeah.
South Carolina should handle business against Coastal Carolina, advancing them to 8-3 before the Clemson game.
Right. And again, look, we were all pulling for Coastal Carolina. They did well in Omaha. Unfortunately, LSU was just too good. And I got to tell you, besides South Carolina, Coastal might be my other favorite team in this state. I mean, I have two favorite teams, South Carolina and Oklahoma. Well, you can't have two favorite teams. Cry about it. Cry about it. I don't play by your rules. But I just think South Carolina, again, will just be a little bit more prepared than them. Now, here's the thing. South Carolina has been known to struggle to teams like Coastal. Old Dominion last year. East Carolina in Troy in 2021. And then 2019, you lost to Appalachian State. 2017, you need a game-winning field goal to beat LA Tech. I mean, again, these
I
aren't
was at
gimmicks
that game.
by any means. However, I think South Carolina wins the game. Then comes rivalry week against the Clemson Tigers, coming to Columbia to play against their daddy Lenora Sellers and Shane Beamer. Let me tell you guys something. Last year was one of my favorite moments in the rivalry's history. How Lenora Sellers on 3rd and 16, when we thought, here we go, this is where it's all going to blow up, and this is how we're going to end this game against Clemson. That's how I feel like a lot of us thought, and with almost every other South Carolina team, probably would have lost that game. But Lenora Sellers, the heart he showed, I mean, we saw Lenora Sellers' mobility just absolutely rocked Clemson's defense. They rocked them. I will tell you this. Clemson this year, I think, could very well contend for a national title. They have the most returning production on offense, or one of the most. They get some good players back defensively, too. New defensive coordinator, Tim Allen. I think it's a great hire. I think he's going to do pretty good. It might take a little bit, but I think Clemson's defense is going to be a lot better than what you saw last year. They're definitely going to be ready for Sellers this go-around. Since 1980, South Carolina has only beaten Clemson and Williams-Brice 5 times. They haven't beaten them at William B. since 2013. This year, however, do I think Clemson will be kind of better record-wise than South Carolina at this point? Yes, I do. That streak in Columbia is going to come to an end at some point. And I feel like, again, Clemson last year, I mean, they struggled on the road against Virginia Tech and Pitt. Cade Klubnik's him. Like, he's the real deal. But he struggled on the road at times. Clemson struggled on the roads at times. I'm interested to see what Clemson does against good opponents because, again, where is Clemson at this point? LSU week 1, well, I think they win that game. They could be tough. It could be tough. Georgia Tech on the road is no cupcake either. I'm high on Georgia Tech. I think the Jackets could very well be a contender if they can stay healthy and avoid the slip-ups. I really think they could be they could be a contender. Not Syracuse. Excuse me. NC State on the road on a Friday night. I think they lose. Not NC State. Louisville on the road.
Yep. You're all good. You're all good.
On a Friday night. I think they lose that game. There is a chance Clemson could be sitting here with 2 losses yet again with another chance for the playoff on the line. I think South Carolina beats Clemson again this year. I absolutely do. At home, I think they snap the streak. I think they finally get a win against Clemson at home for the first time since 2013. However, I will tell you, this has been a place where Clemson's gotten a lot of success in the rivalry. But I think it's high time that comes to an end, and I think it comes to an end this year. I really do. Again, this is another game I think could go either way. But I am going with South Carolina here. I think they finally get Clemson at home. And that puts me at 9-3 for South Carolina. However, unfortunately, 9-3 wasn't good enough to get you into the playoffs last year. Would it be good enough this go around? I highly doubt it. So I do have South Carolina once again barely missing the college football playoff. I got them at 9-3, but let me tell you guys something. This could easily be 8-4. I could easily have this team at 8-4 right now. I really could. I mean, I'm still 50-50 on that Missouri game. I'm still not the most confident in that pick against Ole Miss. And I'm not the most confident in this pick against Clemson either, if I'm being honest with you. But I just feel like Lenora Sellers will find a way to do it again. I do. So I got South Carolina going 9-3, and barely, unfortunately, missing the college football playoff.
Look, as it's like you mentioned, the record. This could very well be 8-4. Could very well be 10-2 as well. But at the end of the day, you got a really tough schedule. You're in the SEC. It is not easy. This is from what I've heard, this is the seventh hardest schedule in America.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very tough schedule. So it's hard to look. I mean, I already have them at 8-3, but it's hard to just see them in the playoff with this schedule. But you never know. This team, I do believe this team has what it takes to be 10-2, maybe even 11-1. I mean, I'm that's not what I'm predicting. I don't think they'll be 11-1. I think 10-2 is tops. But
Yeah.
as for this game, Clemson has owned you at Williams-Brice. We Gamecocks fans have started calling Death Valley or Memorial Stadium, that's Sellers Valley. However,
Willie B. North is my new name for it until further notice.
you can have those bragging rights until the next time we play there. If we lose at Clemson the next time we go there in 2026. But as for this year, look, Clemson historically, they always win in Williams-Brice. We have not beat Clemson at home since 2013. It is at noon, but I've mentioned game times. It's just a game time. It's just numbers. It's in South Carolina. I think Clemson is going to be a lot better this year than they were last year. Now, Clemson fans listening, I think Cade Klubnik, I think he's a great quarterback, but I think he's just a little bit overhyped. Just a little. I don't think like he can prove me wrong. I want him to prove me wrong when he play. I want to see Clemson beat an SEC team first. I want to see them beat LSU week one. I want to see how they look. I'm not saying Cade Klubnik isn't good. I think he's a hell of a quarterback, but people are saying he might win the Heisman. I don't think he's Heisman yet. I don't think he's there yet. I need to see it when they play LSU. I need to see how he does this season. But South Carolina in this game against Clemson, look, at some point, South Carolina's going to win there again. And unfortunately, I don't see Clemson winning. Meaning, I have the Gamecocks beating I have the Gamecocks beating Clemson and advancing to 9-3. I think this. I as well think.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately for Clemson, I said unfortunately for
yeah,
Clemson. I know that might have sound. That's what I intended to say.
I'm kidding.
Unfortunately,
It's
I
all
was
good.
just I was just trying to fool some of the people in the chat or whoever's listening. I was just trying to
Right.
fool you, thinking I was going to pick South Carolina to lose this game. As a Gamecock, I cannot say that we lose to Clemson. I cannot say that. And
Fair enough.
even though this game could go either way, I do have South Carolina finishing the season at 9-3. And I think, look, I thought it was stupid last year how we beat Clemson and go up like what, one spot. It was just dumb how we ended the season with the rank. And I do think this year we fall short of the playoff once again, but we could very well be 8-4, or we could be 10-2. Maybe we do beat Texas A&M. Maybe we do beat LSU. Who knows? Like, it
You
could
could win
go
those
either
games.
way.
You could.
You could. I am very confident in this team to make the playoff this year, but at the end of the day, it's a tough schedule. It's a really tough schedule. Like, LSU, as for LSU, they open the season against Clemson. That is in Clemson too. They're gonna want to prove to you that that's the real Death Valley. I don't know. Look, LSU, they could very well make the playoff, or they could miss it. But I feel like going into that game, they could have a couple losses, and all they'd need is one more loss, and then they'd be out of the race. Like, because LSU's got a really tough schedule. Florida's got a tough schedule. Even good teams like Alabama's got a tough schedule. Every single SEC team does not have an easy schedule. Anything can happen in college football. Anything can happen in the SEC. But for South Carolina, I am confident that they'll get at least 7 wins this year. Do I have them making the college football playoff? Unfortunately, not. But I do think we'll have another good season. And I feel like if this record happens, 9-3, I think Seller returns for one more year. But yep, I have the Gamecocks going 9-3.
Good prediction, man. Good prediction. Again, I will tell you this. I want to correct what I said earlier about the defense because the more I look into it, the more I actually think this defense might be strong yet again this year. I will say, though, it's no easy task replacing players like Tonka Hemingway, Debo Williams, Kyle Kennard, TJ Sanders, Boogie Huntley, all those guys. It's going to be a test. However, I will tell you this. Brian Thomas Jr., I really think could take a big step this year. Fred Johnson could be a threat. There are players, even Damon Clowney and some other players could very well take a step forward this year. And again, Jelon Kilgore is back. You have, I forget.
DQ Smith.
Yeah, DQ Smith, Vicari Swain. That's the one I was looking for. Judge Collier. I mean, you have guys all over the place that could step up and make plays. And again, same with the wide receiver as well. The problem is, again, I feel like these road games are going to be very tough. South Carolina was pretty good on the road last year, but the opponents were different. I mean, you're talking about a 4-win Kentucky, a 6-win Oklahoma, a 7-win Vanderbilt. I mean, again, it's not like the opponents were like they are this year. In LSU, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss, every single one of them potential playoff contenders. I mean, let's call it for what it is. It's a bump up in road competition this year. And again, I picked you to beat Ole Miss. I swapped Alabama and Ole Miss here. I swapped it. Again, that was because of my superstitions. But, I could see Carolina dropping this game to Missouri. I could see them losing to Ole Miss. I could see them losing to Oklahoma. I could see them losing to Clemson. I mean, I could. However, I really think number 16, I think he's going to take a good step this year. I think this offense will take a good step this year. And I think South Carolina would be better offensively and maybe strong yet again defensively. I think that'll help them lift past some of these tough opponents this year.
Yeah, I could very well see us beating Missouri. And I think that Missouri game, like I mentioned earlier, like I almost spoiled my record prediction because I was like, this might be the game that keeps South Carolina out of the college football playoff. And I feel like that could be that game this year. But not only that, I could also see this game being like the Kentucky game last year because Kentucky, I mean, they had a good offense, but we kept them to 6 points. I think, if we force Missouri to throw the ball, I think South Carolina can win the turnover battle. And if they do that, they can win the game. And if they beat Missouri, they'll beat Kentucky. If they start 5-0, they have a really good shot at making the college football playoff. And let's say you do take that Missouri game, but you do lose to LSU, you lose to Texas A&M, you might still make the college football playoff or maybe even the SEC championship. Like it's just one loss. Like last year, you could have beat LSU, Alabama. One of those games, you were so close to winning, and unfortunately, because those games, or one of those games back. If you want one game back, you could get the LSU game back, then you'd be 10-2, and you could make the playoff last year. This year, I feel like that Missouri game is going to be the reason you don't make the playoff. But at the same time, I feel like it could be like the Kentucky game, and like we win the turnover battle, and Missouri's top threat is the running game, and if we can stop that, South Carolina could very well win that game. But I don't have them winning the game, unfortunately, and I wouldn't see them making the playoff if they lose that game. So it could go either way.
Right, I agree. And, we hope we're wrong. We hope we win the SEC. We hope we win the national championship. We hope we make the playoffs. Listen, if South Carolina makes the playoffs this year, I don't care how much it is, we're going to the game. Like, we're going.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if it's a home game a home playoff game at Williams-Brice. Holy crap, dude!
Just picturing that. Just think about being 10-2, or whatever record, no matter what. If a home game at Williams-Brice, gosh, dude, that would be insane. Like, I'm just thinking, that Clemson game being the last home game, and then figuring out, nope, you got one more. Just picturing that like atmosphere. It's gonna be crazy. But thinking about the ticket prices too. Oh my
Yeah,
god, those
yeah,
have
but
got to be at least like what 500 a piece or something like that. Like,
probably.
be
Are there
crazy.
any
But
Gamecock fans in here? I've noticed the chat's kind of the number of viewers have kind of gone down. We're sorry if we're being boring or anything, but if there's any Gamecock fans in the chat, check in real quick and tell us what you think your prediction is going to be. We might drop the StreamYard link in a minute and let some other Carolina fans join in here and tell us what they think is going to happen this year. But let's do a Gamecock check in. Like who in here is a South Carolina fan? We got 5 people watching.
yeah, earlier I saw the stream had 10 viewers. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if I can trust. I'm not sure if I can trust YouTube with their viewers, but it did say you had 10 viewers earlier, and it's like going up and down a lot. I don't know whether or not to trust them, but yeah, I know. And we had Andrew in here earlier. Sentient was here. We could also ping the Discord. So I'll go
Well,
ahead. I'll go ahead and see if they want to
okay. So
hop in here.
Hokie for life, Virginia Tech fan says, "I'm not a Gamecock, but I think y'all go 10-2." Again, fair enough. And I have some Carolina fans who are not sunshine pumpers and think this team goes 10-2. And again, I wish I was as confident as most of them are, honestly. But I will say, I feel like I can't pretend. Again, I think their front seven might be solid yet again, but I don't think it's going to be as good as it was this year. And in 2023, the defense was bad for a majority of the season, then turn it on late. I don't think we're going to revert back to that, but I don't think the defense is going to be quite as dominant. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. But
Yeah,
again,
it could go either way. It could go either way.
I could see
We
this
could
team.
lose. Yeah.
Not to right. I can see this team going. I can see this team going that high, but I could also see this team going 7-5. I really could. That's just how I think. But probably going to go ahead and get out of here, honestly. But I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Let us know what you think in the comments. Are we wrong? Are we stupid? Are we, do you think we missed something? Do you think
Are
maybe
we
we got a prediction wrong? Let us
are
know.
we missing something? Is Alabama going to go undefeated again? Is Clemson going to continue the streak?
Yeah,
Or
are
do
we
you
too
think we're
high on
gonna
Carolina or are we too low on them?
Yeah, or do you think we start the season 6-0? Do you think we beat LSU? Or do you think Vanderbilt upsets us? Do you think Virginia Tech derails our season? Just drop it down in the comments below and let us know your thoughts. We may be stupid, you may be right, who knows? But I've had enough of the preseason talk. I'm ready to watch some football. What about you?
Oh yeah, me too, man. And if I'm being honest, a 9-3 pick for a South Carolina team, it's always generous. Again, we can count on 2 hands how many times we've done that before. I'd honestly be satisfied with another 9-win season. I really would be because that's better than some people have us. I've seen a lot of 7-5 predictions. Everybody who picks South Carolina to go 7-5 has gotten dragged on the internet, and I just feel like there's the sunshine pumpers almost out everywhere, and it's just again we'll see what happens. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Your boy SCCFT and
Gavin,
checking out. Go Cox.
go Cox.